2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. You could turn $10 into $250. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/fan and use code FAN. That's code FAN at prizepicks.com/fan.
Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Balls out. Recovered by Kuechly. Right side is going to bust it through, making the tackle. Jack Thompson for a 3-yard loss.
Jack busted through. My goodness. And what we see is Norv Turner offense coming to fruition because Cam is actually a pocket quarterback. Who knew? Oh my goodness.
Tackle for Denver. Busting through at the 30, 35, 40. Quick race down the right side. Here he goes at the 50, 40, the Miami 30, 20, at the 10. A swipe with the ankles. They can't get him. Touchdown, Christian McCaffrey.
They can't get him. They can't get him.
They can't get them, but you can catch us on the C3 Panthers podcast live, 9 p.m. It's a Wednesday, a day late, not $1 short. It was a new year. Happy New Year to everybody watching. And it's a new year, a new day with new fears for Carolina Panthers fans. And that's the name of the show tonight. And I'm here to talk about it with Cody Lashney. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful, my man. It's 2019. I'm already done with the disappointment that was that 2018. I'm sure we've got to dissect it, but hope springs eternal. I'm ready to move forward and I look forward to this new season, man. We have free agency coming up. We have drafts coming up. A lot of stuff to talk about. I'm ready to do it, man, here on the C3 Carolina Cat Chronicles podcast.
They call me the professor. My name's Tony Dunn. You can follow me on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. Go ahead and turn your phone to portrait mode and smash the thumbs up button and share the link wherever you hang out and talk about the Carolina Panthers. That's how you can grow Panther Nation with us for free. Tonight's show, guys, Panthers retain coach and management, it seems. 19 free agents coming up for the Carolina Panthers. That's the highest number I've heard since Dave Gettleman took over. After his first year, there was 21 or 22 that year. Cam's shoulder is still a mystery, and some odd comments from Norv Turner, or some scary comments from Norv Turner. All of that, plus where are Tepper and Hurney now that the new year is here and the new day is here? What's the plan? So we'll be getting into all of that. Again, support the show by sharing it. You can find us on Patreon. You can be a part of the shindig. The link is in the show notes on YouTube. And you can is here, and you can call into the show using the cat calls line. The number is 252-228-5098. And we'll get you in, and we'll hear what you got to say about where the Panthers are at and going forward. All right. Let's go ahead and start off by just beginning with the discussion. The Panthers retain Marty Hurney and Rivera but we haven't heard from Marty Herney or Tepper. They haven't addressed the media just yet. And we're kind of trying to figure out. I think we kind of not broke this, Cody, but we saw this on the post-game show that the Carolina Panthers had decided, and David Tepper did not indicate that he was throwing his hat into the coaching carousel just as of yet. So at this point, the league is changing vastly. Cody, Ron Rivera, Marty Herney going forward. How are you feeling a couple of days removed?
I feel very similar to how I did. I don't. Again, I'm not very surprised that everyone is, still at the same job. Marty Herney is there. Ron Rivera obviously is still there. I am disappointed that we haven't heard anything from Marty Herney. One of the things, again, we talk about David Gettleman, and now the whole fan base kind of hates on Dave. But one of the things I did appreciate about him was how open he was, and he would revel in a press conference. He loved the back and forth with the media members, and he would kind of let you know an honest assessment of what he felt about the football team. And I feel with Marty, there is absolutely none of that. And I don't know if we're going to hear from Herney at all. Which I think is disappointing.
For a long time, Herney was very active, and prior to his first stint as GM, he would come on the radio a lot, and he came on the radio a lot early on in the season when we were having that success. Now he's kind of gone back into the bushes like Homer Simpson, and I think rightfully so. Probably want to be quiet, keep your head down at this moment till you get a feel of if you got a job or not. But if things are stabilizing to the point that Tepper says, hey, you guys are at least going to be here right now for the next season, then I think it's time to come out and start laying out the plan and the vision. And I want to hear from Herney more than anybody. I've heard enough from Ron Rivera, but let's go ahead and hear from Ron. Actually, before we go to Ron Rivera, let's talk about this quickly. We talked about this last week, I believe. And that is one of the reasons why people have been upset about the retention of Ron Rivera, and they want to go ahead and, like you have said, rip the Band-Aid off and go ahead and get that offensive coordinator. You see what the Bears are doing. Or that offensive coach. You see what the Bears are doing. You see what the Rams have done. But in some ways, it's kind of hopeful. They're 25% of the league is without a head coach right now, Cody. 8 teams are in the market. And this tweet from Bucky Brooks, I think, says the other half of the coin that you have to figure out once you fire a guy like Ron Rivera or fire any head coach at this point. And Bucky Brooks says, I don't know where we're going to find all these qualified coaches to fill all these vacancies. There aren't that many QB gurus and offensive masterminds to go around. Cody, did you believe that the Panthers had enough pull just simply because they had the bazillionaire and Cam Newton in this? Or is there some hesitancy and potentially some fear that, maybe that guy just isn't there, or there's too many of them, right? Or there's not enough of them at the moment?
Well, no, it is a good point to make. And, fans of our show, and we have even said that, there aren't necessarily a ton of hot prospects out on the coaching market right now. I've even heard Kyle Kingsbury. He was the head coach of Texas Tech. And then now they just hired him on as, I believe, the offensive coordinator at USC. And he's already being interviewed by the Jets and the Cardinals. So it really, it's kind of a testament to there really isn't a whole lot of big name hires out there. And then even some of the bigger names, you have McCarthy is someone that has been named. Bruce Arians is someone that's been named. And I believe that he has said he would only come back for the Browns job. But yeah, it is a good point to be made. Again, though, there's always that hidden gem that no one's talking about. If you look at Matt Nagy up there in Chicago, he was the offensive coordinator for Kansas City, and that was a name that no one really, he wasn't on the forefront of anyone's mind until all of a sudden he has the Chicago Bears rolling now. So I don't know. I still kind of wish some more changes would have been made, but yeah, man, there are no star candidates at the coaching position right now, and that's just the truth.
You don't want to get stuck in the cycle of the retread. And right now, I heard that Dirk Cutter was being interviewed for offensive coordinator for the Falcons, I think. Would it be offensive or defensive? I'm pretty sure it'd be offensive. Dirk Cutter, offensive coordinator for.
Yeah, he was the offensive head coach for the Bucs. So yeah, and the Falcons fired Sarkisian. So yeah, that would make sense. And he knows the division rival.
Yeah, round and round you go. You don't want to just change to change.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
Let's hear from Ron Rivera now on how the challenges this season and starting to assess where to go from here now that it looks like he's getting a vote of confidence from ownership at this point.
This has been a frustrating season when you factor in the start, the finish. As a coach,
hold on, we got to echo real quick. I think you might have a portal open.
Go ahead.
They never.
Yep.
You never lost them. They stayed with you the whole way.
No, it's a good group of young men. I mean, I think it speaks well to this locker room and that they came out, they competed, and they fought, and they played well from the beginning to the end. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of a spell that we just didn't get it done, and that's the frustrating part. And it'll start. The evaluation process will start with me, looking at the things that I could have done better to help us, especially during that stretch. When you get into a stretch like that, just all it takes is one positive thing, and we didn't get it, and that was disappointing. But we'll see. I was very pleased with the effort that they gave, continuing throughout the season. It speaks well to the leadership in this locker room as well.
So there's Ron Rivera, and the reason I play that is I actually thought that was an interesting point there to say that that evaluation, that self-evaluation starts with him and what he can do better, because clearly he didn't have a year where he was able to bring everybody together, and he was seeing that he was just as much of a stumbling piece in that slide as it was. And I would say that's the first time I've heard Ron Rivera take a little accountability, saying this begins with me.
Yeah, and honestly, it's something that we wish we would have heard from him sooner. But again, it's one of those things like we already know. We already know a lot of this was on you. We already know a lot of this was on the coaches. And, I know I've said this before. I kind of get annoyed listening to Ron Rivera talk at this point because it just feels – all contrived and, just the kind of the same rehearsed line. And honestly, I'm at the point now where there really isn't anything that Ron Rivera could say to make me feel good about anything because I want action. I mean, talk is cheap, and he's never had a back-to-back winning season. And that's just the plain truth of it. And that means that there's a level of inconsistency in our coaching staff that it needs to be addressed. So, honestly, it didn't matter if, Ron Rivera quoted the Bible going backward. It doesn't matter at this point. We want to see some real action and some improvement on his part. And I feel that's one thing that we've been saying, that the level of consistency with Ron Rivera and everything from timeouts to clock management to evaluating talent on his own football team, it's been bad for a while now, and it's something that he needs to do better at.
All right, let's go ahead. You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. Let's go ahead and cycle in a guest here. Let's bring in Cody from Roanoke, and we'll get his initial thoughts on the retention of Ron Rivera and Marty Hurney, and let's move on to free agency quickly after that. All right. We've got Josh from Massachusetts.
Cody
from Roanoke. Cody from Roanoke. I'm already changing things, but it is taking a second to connect. We're going to be talking about free agents in just a moment. There's a long list with 19 names on it. And I think that some of them or most of that list is essentially goners, right? But there are some names. It looks like we're having a little trouble connecting with Cody from Roanoke. So let's do this. Let's bring Key up the list of free agents at this point,
Okay.
Cody. And right now, the list is long and undistinguished in many ways. And what I've seen from this so far is a lot of these guys, they are not going to be back on the team. For instance, the very first two names on this list being Mike Adams, Cameron Artis-Payne. I don't know if I can expect I don't expect Cameron Artis-Payne to be anywhere in the state of North Carolina after his experience here in Carolina with this. Mike Adams, if he comes back, he has said that he wants to keep playing football. I don't know why we would continue to stay old when we saw that was problematic for us. Travaris Cadet, Chandler Catanzaro, Chris Clark. Then you get to the first name that matters probably, and that is Thomas Davis. Thomas Davis has come out in the media this week and said that he wants to be wants to continue to be a part of the Carolina Panthers, even if it is in a reduced role. So where are we thinking about with Thomas Davis now that he is going to hit free agency for the first time in his entire career?
Well, I'm interested to see where you are on this first, because I feel like I have a very strong opinion on this. So I kind of want to jump off from your perspective first, if you don't mind. I want to see what Tony Dunn thinks about some of the aging vets on our team.
I think that it's going to be difficult to have Thomas Davis in a reduced capacity. I think as long as he's on the team, it's going to be very hard to say, well, you're the guy that takes reps, comes in key situations, because I think he's such a good football player that he's going to be he's going to be mentally better than a lot of the younger guys who are more athletically better. And I think that where we have seen with Ron Rivera's tendency there is that he can't get out of the veterans to go on from that guy. And I just don't know if we are going to be able to use him situationally properly. That's my concern with Thomas Davis.
Yeah, and I feel amongst fans there's really two different opinions on Thomas, and that's you bring him back. He's been good for the team. He's good for morale, and he hasn't slowed down that much. And then there are other people that they're just of the mindset that Thomas Davis has seen better days, that he's missed a bunch of tackles, and that he didn't do a lot of things that he might have been able to do earlier on in his career. Listen, man, this is where I fall on this issue, and I believe I've said it before. I am of the mindset that as much as we love some of these all-time Panther greats, I mean, Julius Peppers, Thomas Davis, I honestly think that you have to say enough's enough. This is the end of the road. Thank you for everything that you've done here, but it's time to move on. I mean, there needs to be a concerted effort to have young, fast, and explosive players on the field. And as much as we love guys like Thomas and Julius and Greg Olsen, and Greg is a case of his own. That's one more maybe I wouldn't mind having come back, since it's not a defensive position. But, I mean, as far as Thomas and Julius, I'm just of the mindset that you're taking a spot away now from someone that has the potential to be a real game changer for us. And that's why we talked about windows maybe a month or so back, that you have a period in time in which your best players are performing at their highest, and you want to capitalize on those moments. You want to make a run when you have your best players firing on all cylinders. And I feel that for a certain few players on our team right now, as sad as it is, as much as we hate it, we missed that mark for them. And I think Thomas Davis and Julius, Yeah, that's a part of those band-aids that we have to pull if that metaphor is going to continue on.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing is that if you know that you want to just have him there in the background and being able to come in if there was something bad happening, but I think he's always gonna overshadow. Look at how much he's overshadowed Shaq Thompson the entire time Shaq Thompson, the first round draft pick, has been there. And we're going to get to Shaq Thompson in just a second. I do want to ask you this as names on this list that matter to me, though.
Yes.
And to me, there's three names that really matter on this list: Eric Reed, David Mayo, and Darrell Williams. Those to me are the most relevant to our future and knowing what we got. And the reason I say this is that let's just go ahead and get David Mayo out of the way. And the reason I say get David Mayo out of the way is that if we don't re-sign him, I think that tells us that we are going to be either very interested in making Jermaine Carter that guy, or that, again, we're going to have to kind of find that the next David Mayo, the last, what's the guy that's in New Orleans right
AJ
now?
Klein.
Yeah. And so if we re-sign David Mayo for a small, reasonable kind of veteran contract, but he's not going to court people like AJ Klein did by any means, then it says, hey, we like you for what you know about the organization, what you contribute on special teams, and the familiarity in case of an injury. But if we don't re-sign him, I think that tells us a lot about what the Panthers are going to have to start game planning for, and that will be complicated by Shaq Thompson as well.
Yeah, I mean, so Ben Jacobs is one, David Mayo is one. All of a sudden, I remember for a long time we seemed to believe that linebacker was the deepest position that we had on the football team. And now all of a sudden when you're looking at it, and Shaq Thompson needs to either get the franchise did he get the franchise tag?
No. All right. So what the team is, so we're talking about Shaq Thompson now, who will be going into the 5th year of his rookie contract. I believe this is the way it works. We have exercised the 5th year option for him, which there's a formula for how they calculate what he will be paid in that fifth year. Right now, that formula equates to $9 million. We have until March 13th, however, to decide fully if we're going to do it. That is when the team officially has to say, like, once that happens, once March 13th happens, they will have to either stick with Shaq or not. So you could stick with Shaq, and if you do that, it's going to be a $9 million for Shaq Thompson, or if you don't, it's going to be a complete $9 million savings for a team that is doesn't have a lot of cap room. And this to me all of a sudden begs a very difficult question right here, is how important is Shaq Thompson, and is he $9 million important?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, now when you look at the depth that we have and the potential of Thomas Davis leaving us, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I kind of think Shaq Thompson being on the team is now more important than ever, And the real wild card here is we don't know how much these players, how they evaluate themselves. I mean, does Shaq Thompson think that he's the best will linebacker in the NFL? And does he ask for that kind of money? Because if so, I don't know. But now this is what it is for me. I would love to have Shaq Thompson back because I think that if we're gonna talk about losing Thomas or having him back in a lesser role than he has been in previous years, then we're gonna need someone next to Luke that isn't having to learn everything on the fly and isn't someone that is having to be coached up from college and can actually be placed in right next to number 59, what I think is the best middle linebacker in the NFL. So
I think those are all good points, and I would have said that last year. That's what I would have said last year. But here's the thing: is that we have seen now Shaq Thompson be with the team for 4 years, and he has never played more than 45% of the defensive snaps. When Thomas Davis came back off a suspension, they moved back to Kuechly and Thomas Davis. So if that truly was the modus operandi, why would – and I guess the only thing I'm willing to take right now is that Shaq was injured. And that's why it wasn't happening. But I don't know if I have seen right now enough out of Shaq to say he's the heir apparent, or what it truly should be is this. It should be Kuechly now hitting the backside of being great and Shaq Thompson stepping into that greatness. And I don't know if we've seen enough out of it. And I would just make the comparison to one other player. Anthony Barr of the Minnesota Vikings just got through his 5th-year option. He was paid because he was a higher draft pick, I believe. He got $12 million last year. And he's played over 70% of the snaps in Minnesota. So I'm just saying this is, why hasn't Shaq supplanted Thomas Davis? Or does this again come back to the coaching staff and their inability to pull the plug and do that? Our fear in bringing back Thomas Davis again.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
So we're going to get some new thoughts on this. Try to bring some guests in here to the show. We'd like to hear from you guys. The number's 252-228-5098. We'll see if we can get Cody from Virginia. He's dying to get in on the show. Let's see what happens here. He's connecting. Cody.
How's it going, guys?
Hey, he's there. Can you hear me?
Hey, here he is.
Roger that. All right, let's do this. We're talking free agency right now. Your thoughts specifically on Thomas Davis and in relationship to Shaq Thompson.
You know, Thomas Davis, I think, is more of a sentimental person. I mean, he's been productive, but, I mean, even to his own admission, this year he's not been a tremendous asset to the defense. There's been, if you look at film, I mean, there's been some times where he's maybe bit when he shouldn't have bit. And, you know, but there's also been those plays that have been, you know, potentially offense been able to live up to the standards. So Thomas Davis, I like that he's still such a big part of what we do. But when you talk about Shaq Thompson, I think that when he was drafted, I would have to say most of us thought that he was the heir apparent to Thomas Davis. And because Thomas Davis has been playing at such a Pro Bowl level, we haven't been able to actually see him aside from a few flash plays. But he's been able to make some tremendous plays. Do I think he's worth that hit on the cap? That's a really tough question when you have so many options in the you know, reserves with, you know, Carter and with David Mayo. You know, we just don't know what we have out of Carter. I wish we would have seen a little bit more out of him against New Orleans. But there's so many options you can make with this cap space that he would take up. It's hard to make an argument for him staying, you know?
This is Franklin Klimlick on Facebook says this: huge savings to let Shaq walk and take an outside linebacker at 16. The drop off from Shaq to a rookie wouldn't be that dramatic, while Davis provides stability during the transition. Shaq didn't translate to warrant the price tag. I think there's some good points there, but if we take an outside linebacker at 16, I'm going to blow my brains out on the C3 Live draft party. And actually, I won't do that. I will do something else. But the point being is this, is that I I'm a little concerned that Shaq just didn't work out as well as we hoped. And that if he would have been so clearly the decision here. And I think, Cody from Virginia, that now we're in a difficult position to where we go, is this worth it? The only answer to this would be, Cody, is that you can't pay him $9 million. You got to figure out a way to do a 3-year deal or something where you spread it.
I would agree.
And
I would agree. Go
ahead.
I was going to say, do you think that we could convince him smaller? I know it's part of the contract, but I don't know how that entirely works. But do you really think that he would find? And that's what you brought up earlier. What do you believe he believes his value is? And it's just so tough to justify that $9 million price tag. There's a lot of people. We could go round and round. I think one of the more interesting options of releasing would be Torrey Smith. It just depends upon a lot of different factors and what they really bring to the, non-visible things that we see on the field. We don't know what type of a mentality Shaq Thompson has and how he can really lead, other linebackers, where obviously Luke and Thomas are going to be the leaders in that. But Torrey Smith, obviously, he's the leader of that wide receiver room, regardless of his stats and his performance. So I don't know. It's for people that get paid a lot more than me to make that decision, I suppose.
Cody, let me ask you this. Is there anybody on our free agency list that you believe is a must resign, that we have to have them going into next season? Do we have a player on the roster that you think is a must have?
I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit here, Eric Reed. Yeah, it's so easy to look at that list and realize the priority is Eric Reed. I'd like to say Cameron Artis-Payne, but one of the things I read an article and I'd have to agree with is he's a similar back to Christian McCaffrey. We don't need a duplicate. We need somebody who's able to complement. So I'm not sure how I feel about Cameron Artis-Payne. I feel like he would have a better opportunity somewhere else. I like the guy. I'd like to see him get that opportunity, but Eric Reed certainly, and I would like to see F.A. because I feel like he has a lot more. It's not just a feel-good story in my mind. I feel like he actually has something that they're not giving him an opportunity to show. And that's something that's disappointing to me.
Yeah, you almost want to see Cameron Artis-Payne go somewhere just for his own sake, man. Let the man actually get some reps, man. Well, Cody, man, thank you for joining us again tonight. You're welcome whenever you want to come on. We're going to bring on some other people, but I don't know if you're driving, but drive safe wherever you're going. And, we will – go ahead, man.
Yeah, I was going to say I appreciate it, and I was thinking about this all day. I wanted to bring it up. You guys can talk about it, once I dip out.
Okay, yeah.
I was, we talked about C.J. Anderson last week, and I was reading before he left, which makes this more frustrating that he's not a Panther, or he wasn't. Before he left, he was averaging over 4.5 yards per carry, and those were tough yards most of the time. Those weren't easy yards. And then you see him go to Los Angeles behind a very good offensive line, mind you, and he does 300 yards in 2 games. We talked about throughout the season he wanted to limit, kind of help take some stuff off of Christian McCaffrey, but then now we turn around and, we let him walk after he was actually pretty efficient. So it helps me. It doesn't help me to move forward, but it helps me to feel better if they did fire Ron. But just if you guys want to talk about that, feel free. There was something I was thinking about, and I wanted to talk about because of the numbers were just kind of insane if you thought about it that way. So, all right, guys.
All right,
man. That's Cody from Virginia, not South Carolina Cody, or North Carolina Cody. But Cody from Virginia, thanks for coming on the show. I was thinking about this in that, and first I saw CJ Anderson talk about no trolls. He's blocking all trolls on Twitter. He's feeling good about himself right now, as he should be. Again,
wait, who's blocking all trolls? Who did you say?
CJ Anderson said that on Twitter.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Anybody's coming at him, he's going to get blocked. But
I don't blame
I think if anything is that it's been the one problem I've had when it comes to CJ Anderson, as well as the use of Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore early on in this season, is I think that's the only stain on Norv Turner's resume from this year, is that Norv Turner didn't supersede Ron and saying, come on, Ron. I just don't buy. I believe that Ron Rivera worships at the idol of Norv Turner. And I believe that if Norv Turner said we need more of this, that Ron would be behind it 100%. So I think that truly indicates there's something going on there too, and we don't know what it is. But I did want to bring this up before we continue on with free agents, because we do need to talk about Eric Reed. Luke Kuechly, one of the things is that right now we have only $23 million in cap space. If you were to cut Shaq Thompson or do something with him, you could increase that slightly. Luke Kuechly is going to have a $17 million cap number this year.
Yeah, that's pretty steep. But at the same time, though, what other player on our team other than Cam deserves a big paycheck more, huh?
I'm not saying that. If you look at it, and I think if we go back and we put up that video, and go ahead and put that list of free agents back up, Cody, because then there's an allocation of our stars to how much of our roster. Luke Kuechly counted $8 million against the cap this year in 28. It's going to double, right? And I mean, obviously, you can't get out of you would have $11 million in dead money, and you would save $6 million against the cap if you were to cut Luke Kuechly. But nobody's saying that. I think what I'm trying to bring up here is that it's going to be hard. Think about this. Wouldn't it be difficult at this current juncture, Cody, to pay two linebackers $28 million or $26 million? Difficult. That's a giant allocation of cap.
Giant. And not only that, but I also think that it kind of speaks to something that the Panthers do more than any other team does, and that is the centerpiece. The best aspects of the Carolina Panthers defense is our linebacking core. I would say that above our defensive backfield and above even above our front four. And I honestly think that that's kind of a problem. And I know for a while we've had Shaq, Thomas Davis, and Luke. And that's just, that's why no teams are really, historically in the past few years have been able to run the football on us. And, that's been an important part of who we are. But now that you have Thomas Davis, seemingly either not coming back or coming back in a very reduced role, it really is hard to want to spend that much money on a linebacker when you know that you need better pass rushers. You know that you need better edge defenders and guys that are going to continue to collapse the pocket. And I really, I don't think that the modern NFL has many other teams that their defense is basically built around their linebackers. So now that we have a few guys that need to be paid and Thomas is on his way out, now it's starting to seem like more of a deficiency that we have rather than a strength. And then you factor in the money, it just does seem to be kind of a big problem for us moving forward.
Josh from Mass says that Kuechly's already restructured his contract. According to overthecap.com, he signed a 5-year contract extension for $61 million with the Carolina Panthers in 2015. Contains $27 million in guaranteed we're estimating that Luke Kuechly received $19 million signing bonus. It goes through, so that would have been 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 is 5. So he has already restructured because they've extended it through year 2021 on or at least that is what according to overthecap.com. Now, this makes things even more complicated, and we're never going to get off of this, is that for me, is that if you can't do a lot with Luke Kuechly's deal and you're not really willing to part ways with him, which nobody is indicating that we necessarily should or that it's a good idea to, but has Marty Herney learned a lesson at all from overpaying a single position group? Because if you know what got him into trouble in his initial stint in Carolina, it was double paying running backs, where it just ended up being this, is there was too much allocation of the running back position to the salary cap percentage than was particularly worth it. So for me, is that actually complicates Shaq Thompson's 5th-year option even more.
It does. And okay, so Josh from Mass in the chat is saying that the Panthers converted $6.8 million of Luke Kuechly's current contract into a signing bonus. This in turn gave the Panthers $5.1 million in space toward their salary cap in 2018. So I'm wondering if
because he had a lot less this year. Okay, it makes total sense.
Yeah. Okay, so now that these numbers that we're looking at, they kind of make more sense. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's like, what are you going to do about it? I mean, Luke is the centerpiece of our defense, and it's not like, we're going to convince him to take less money or I mean, God, I cannot
or
imagine.
Or anybody wants to. Nobody wants to at this point. We'd rather
absolutely.
see Thomas Davis and Shaq Thompson go than to go and beg Luke Kuechly to take a pay cut for potentially at any moment his career could end. Thank God he had no concussion problems this year.
Right, and then remember that I don't remember their names right now, but then we also drafted 2 linebackers this last year, and they were I don't even remember their names, and those were 2 other guys that there were some special teams contributors, but other than that, we have no idea what we have in those players. So it is kind of we don't really know right now what our linebacking core is going to be. And, you mentioned, you don't want to see another linebacker in the first round of the draft. And while I agree with those sentiments, I also know who Devin White is, the linebacker out of LSU, who is an absolute missile. So depending on how our free agency ends up going, he isn't a player that I would hate to have on the football team, especially next to Luke. But I do understand that, having to pay all that money right now and having to sign Shaq, it really doesn't seem reasonable. And I think now people are starting to see how many holes there are on this football team that are going to have to be serviced in somehow, some way.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
So we've talked about the 2 other names, and Cody from Virginia brought this up, is Eric Reed right now is the only free agent on this list that I feel like is worthy of pursuing.
Yeah, that's not unfair. I mean, he contributed in a larger way than I feel most of the other people on that list did. Maybe Mike Adams, but then again, that's another thing. Do you get one in free agency, or do you draft another one? So, I agree with Jeremy Clancy. Tough decisions will be made, and they're going to have to be made.
Right now at safety, though, is that you're really talking about this is Look, is I don't actually even put him in the realm of a top 10 safety right now. I'd say he's second tier at best right now. And I would say he's along the lines of maybe an Eric Weddle, who's more of a free safety. Well, let's see, maybe Jonathan Cyprian, who I think they've had some problems with the Titans. I just don't think that he can command Honey Badger money just yet. I don't think that he can command Earl Thomas money. So I think you could get Eric Reed at a reasonable price. When he says market value, I hope that means in just in accordance with starting strong safety production. And I think that he would be a reasonable sign. But again, I think we talked about this on the post-game show, Cody. It's remarkably important for the Carolina Panthers to pair a guy who is even better than him at free safety to get the most out of Eric Reed.
Yeah, and I'm almost to the point where our safeties have been so marginal for such a long time that I'm not going to be too mad. I mean, unless it's some astronomical number, I'm not really going to be too mad at whatever we do end up paying Eric Reed if we do end up paying.
We never tried to fix the problem. We have never tried to fix the safety issue since Mike Minter left.
I mean, people don't realize that the last time we drafted a safety in the first round was Thomas Davis, and he doesn't play safety anymore, in case anyone hasn't noticed. So, yeah, it's a position that we have kind of neglected for a long time. We just brought in sort of marginal free agents on the back end of their career, or guys that have been, only average other places. And listen, to their credit, we've had some good ones. Kurt Coleman was great for a few years, and then even Roman Harper played a big part in that 2015 run. But it really
piecemeal, though. All piecemeal.
Yeah, 100%, and that's the point. Like it really is about time that we decide to really put some premium draft picks on the safety position. If not, we need to sign a player like Eric, because I'm telling you, I mean, he may not.
We may have to do both. I think the real option is to do both.
Okay, so then let me ask you this:
get Eric Reed, and to get him at a point in his career where he's not old and busted like Kurt Coleman. He's 3 years younger than Kurt Coleman was when he came here, or 4 years. He's 10, 12 years younger than Mike Adams, and he's about 6 or 7 years younger than Roman Harper was. So you get a guy who's going to be who can hold up for 3 years. And then in the draft, you target somebody, and I don't know if you do it in the first round necessarily at 16. I think that might be a little high, but can you get that rangy free safety like we wanted his brother to be in the second round?
Yeah, well, the guy, and Adam Martin just mentioned him in the chat, Deontay Thompson. If you're looking for a free safety in this draft right now, Deontay Thompson from Alabama is the belle of the ball. And, I mean, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, he is a ball hawk. I've seen him make a ton of plays. He's a more immediate nightmare for me because I'm a Clemson fan, and we're getting ready to play Alabama. So, it's one of those situations where – say that again. Joe Riolano, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, our favorite freaking Puerto Rican. How you doing, Joe?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm late to the show as usual, but sounds like you guys, I've been listening. You guys have been having a really good show so far. Glad I could be part of it. And what I said was all in, baby.
All in, baby. Beating Bama on Monday. That's what we're going to do.
That's right.
Yeah, man. And, I really do think that it's one of those things where at some point in time, here's another David Gettleman-ism, and I'm sure people are tired of me talking about him. But you're not going to have a ton of depth at every position. With the amount of players that you're allowed to have on a roster, it's just not possible. So, at some point, if you sign Eric and then draft a free safety in the first round, it might leave some holes in some other areas. But going forward, now that's a position of strength for us that we don't have to worry about in the next, 2 or 3 years. So you have to look at that when considering what players they're going to bring in.
And in re-signing Eric Reed, we don't have to commit long-term to him because we do have Golden back there. And
you can give him a 3-year deal. You got to give him a 3-year deal. They don't want a 2-year deal. He wants a 3-year deal, and that's reasonable.
I think so. I think that gives you a chance. You got a solid starter, and that'll give you enough time to evaluate Golden to see if he can step into the role after 3 years. And that, frankly, is kind of what pisses me off about the last couple of games of the year. They had a really good opportunity to evaluate Golden. Throw him in there, let's see what he's learned, what he's picked up. Let's see if he can apply the techniques that we have been teaching him and see if, he's the future for us.
And then also, I don't even know if the coaches intend to play him at safety. So I remember there was one interview where Ron Rivera said that they view Rashawn Golden as the future at the big nickel position. So,
oh my God, no, he's not. Yeah, no, he's not. He's the free safety. I don't even think he worked well as being a replacement for Eric Reed. I think Eric Reed is so clearly a strong safety, a big body. He looks like a giant out there. I know he's only 6'1", but he is a big body guy. He throws the shoulder around. He is like a Swearinger type player, or I'm trying to think of some of the guys, he is not the rangy free safety guy. You need a rangy guy beside him. Yes. So I think that Golden, I think it would have been, if we really truly wanted to evaluate the safety position, it is, hey, keep Eric Reed out there and put Golden out there to see if he can be a free safety. There's no way little Golden is going to be playing like a damn linebacker or is fast enough to be a cornerback. I don't have a lot of faith in that.
He's not that little. I mean, you make it sound like he's Captain Munderland.
I'm going to look it up. Well, he's not that little, but he's 6'1", 200 pounds.
Well, but see, here's the deal.
Guys.
He is 200 pounds is the baby.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the combine, he only ran like a 4.5 something, and generally you do want
4.6.
Even worse, man. So yeah, I don't like Rashawn at the free safety position. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have a position on this team. I'm not even mad at and I know you just talked about some of the deficiencies that Eric Reed has, but I don't even mind letting him play free safety for a little while just to put Rashawn Golden in the box, because your free safety is a faster safety than your strong. So, I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where, we really have a lot of hard decisions to make about our defensive backfield. And James Bradbury, he's going to be coming up soon as well. So I want to invest in safety in some way, shape, or form, be it free agency or somewhere in the draft. And I want safeties that are going to allow our cornerbacks like Bradbury and Jackson to be able to play the football. Go for the interceptions. Don't worry about what's behind you, because our safeties are going to take care of it. And we don't have that right now.
All right, last free agent discussion for now, because we're going to break down free agency in depth throughout the month of February as we approach it. But we just saw the list that was released by the Carolina Panthers of the pending free agents, and the names that have stuck out to us so far have been Eric Reed, David Mayo, and last to me is Darrell Williams. Right now, the Carolina Panthers offensive line has been in shambles. We're retiring Ryan Khalil. Matt Khalil has come out and said, I read this story about Matt Khalil talking about this year, and he says, I want to give it another go. I thought the way he phrased that was so pussy. Sorry, ladies. I don't mean to be like, but what I'm trying to say is that it didn't sound hungry to me. It sounded timid. It sounded worried. Is that I'm ready to come back to compete, to be a part of this team, not just a speed bump. But I think right now the question goes is, what do you do with Darrell Williams coming off an injury, one that isn't as severe as we probably thought, or actually, Joey, didn't he have it? Wasn't it the thing you got snipped at one point?
Oh,
the one that goes over the kneecap, the PCL, or something like that. Meniscus.
Yeah.
I don't. We'll have to go back and look up the injury. But what do you do with Darrell Williams, a guy who has shown only 1 year so far that he's shown 1 year of tape that is effective and productive? That was 2 years ago, not this past year, the year before. But he has been riddled with injury.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do with Darrell Williams? How do you deal with this? Or is this a guy that you cut bait with?
For me, I like the potential that he showed with the one really productive year. There is concern about injury. I think the first thing you have to do is make sure he's going to be 100% healthy, that he'll be recovered, healed up, and there'll be nothing lingering going on. I think his injury was not ACL. I think it was the patella tendon. I think
that
that's
sounds right. Is that PCL?
I think that's what it was. Yeah, PCL. Yeah, that's what it was. PCL. That's right. Anyway, I think you gotta make sure he's healthy, and then you can start to talk to him about prove it deal. We'll sign you 1 year. We'll pay you $4 million. We'll guarantee you $4 million, $5 million. Something that's a solid deal. You have a good year, your next contract will be for 4 years. That kind of thing.
Well, I know somebody whose opinion that I want to get on this, because this man always brings the smoke when he is in the chat room. And tonight, a longtime fan of ours is going to join us via Shindig. We're going to see how his connection is. The man, the myth, the legend, Carl D is joining us. Carl D, what's up, brother?
What's up? Can y'all hear me? Y'all hear me?
Yeah, you're good, man.
Oh, okay. I didn't know y'all could hear me. What's up, fam? What's up?
Yeah, man. Welcome to the C3 podcast. You're a member of the family, and we got to ask you this. We're jumping off. We want your opinion on Darrell Williams. What do you do with him?
Wow.
Bam. Do it right at you.
Yeah, you did. I don't know, because Moten's been doing a good job over there. If we keep him, do we throw him at left tackle?
No, he can't handle left tackle. There's no way. Oh, wait. You're saying Moten. Moten can't.
Yeah,
I thought you were saying Darrell Williams. I was about to say, there's no way Darrell Williams. Yeah. Is the question that I think ultimately comes down to with Darrell Williams is like Joey said, a prove it deal. Darrell Williams isn't right now, though. He's shown some good film. He's shown some productivity, but he's also had some injury problems. You know that he's going to be trying to not get a prove it deal, but at least get a little bit. We're talking a 2-year deal. What we need to do is the question is that we could use some horses in the stable when it comes to the offensive line. Do you think that Darrell Williams can come back from this habitual injury, Or are you too concerned about it? Because he's looked better than guys like Amini Silatulu. He's looked better than Matt Khalil. Do you take a chance and sign him to a 2-year deal maybe?
I give him a prove it. I tell him you got to prove it to me that you can play like you did 2 years ago.
He hasn't shown a ton, has he? It's not been an immense amount of tape that he has been great. In fact, he was good, but he wasn't great at the same time. And it's not like Cody, I'm going to you, Cody, here on this, is that it doesn't also look like he's going to turn into the best right tackle in the league either, does it?
Right, and I even mentioned last show. I think that Darrell Williams a lot of the times benefited from playing next to Trey Turner because I still think Trey Turner is a real good football player. But yeah, man, and listen, me and Carl have kind of gone back and forth on this offensive line. I just think that you need to do whatever you need to do to shore up that line and give Cam some time to be able to throw the football effectively. The problem with Darrell Williams is you have 1 year of high-level production from Darrell Williams, and then you have 1 year where he was a non-factor. I mean, he got hurt in preseason, and then the first game of the year, he got hurt again, So you don't have a large case study to go on to prove that he's going to be able to dominate some of the best pass rushers in football. Because now that's what they do. The Bosas, the Max, the Millers, J.J. Watts, they line up across from the right tackle. So you have to be able to deal with the best pass rushers in the NFL. And I don't know that we've seen enough from Darrell for him to be able to say that he commands that type of money. I mean, we don't know that that's what he's capable of.
Well, you're right about that. In that case, then, bye-bye.
Peace.
Well, yeah, and that's where Joey's probably right. That's where Joey's probably right on this, is that beyond a 1-year deal right now is sad. It's a sad deal for Darrell Williams, for a big guy like that who is, they don't get a ton of opportunity. But, I guess it is anything beyond 1 year is just doing it because you like them.
Yeah, and I hate that Darrell got hurt because I really wanted to see how good Moton would have been at left tackle, how he would have worked out a left tackle. But I think Moton is more fitted for the right tackle than left tackle. So you can't have both of them playing right tackle, so one of them got to go. And it'll be Darrell Williams to me.
Yeah, well, it's definitely not Moton, that's for sure.
And something else I'm wondering is, I guess it just depends on what money teams are willing to throw around. But how much are other teams going to be willing to pay Darrell Williams based off of 1 year of production also? So it might be a scenario where Darrell Williams wants anywhere between $11 to $13 million a year, but then that's not the offers that he's getting from San Francisco and New York. And he has said that he likes being here in Carolina. So I am hopeful that that is something that we can do. Because I think I've heard Carl type this out before too. If we're able to have Darrell Williams at right tackle, Trey Turner, whoever our center is going to be, whoever our left guards are going to be, and maybe put Taylor Moton on the left. That's not if you're able to fill in those two slots, that's not the worst lineup.
No, I think him expecting like $11 and $12 million is ridiculous, because I don't think there's anyone that's going to pay him that except Dave Gettleman. But no, he's not going to get that. I like our chances of being able to resign him to a really short deal. Hopefully, he is able to get back to that 2016 or 2017 form and really play well. And then, if he plays well, we'll reward him with a 4 or 5 year deal. And And, we'll have the right side of our offensive line set. We'll be good to go. One thing I want to ask you guys real quick before we go is, where are we with Greg Olsen?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm interested to hear everybody's opinion on Greg Olsen. Because I think out of all the old guys on the team, he'd be the one I'm most comfortable with coming back, just because if you're playing tight end, it's not necessarily a position that, he's ever been super duper agile or quick. He's not Travis Kelce as far as athleticism. So I think just having the threat of him on the field, and maybe you put Ian Thomas out there also, I wouldn't mind Greg for another year. I really wouldn't.
I don't think you have a choice. And the reason I say this is that if you cut him at this point, you have $7 million in dead money and you don't save anything.
Oh, no, he's fine.
Is he's gonna get that's according to overthecap.com, that's a pre-June 1st cut, and this is that if Greg is willing to come back and do it to it, I think that given the change in leadership that we're experiencing right now, it wouldn't be a bad thing. And it's not one of those I think it's not one of those positions either where all of a sudden, because his athleticism is dropping off, he's never been the most fleet of foot guy. Yeah. It's not I would think this. If you're not going to save any money, keep him. Right?
Yeah,
and if it's going to cost you money.
He can be a contributor. He really can, as well as he can still continue to mentor the rookie tight end we have. His name escapes me right now. But
Ian.
Thomas, he can continue to mentor him and, kind of continue to show him what it takes to be a professional football player and how to watch film and, that sort of thing. And then after next year, it's Thomas's job.
You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. Go ahead and turn your phone to portrait mode. Smash that thumbs up button. Share the show on a Facebook group or in Reddit or wherever you hang out and talk about the Panthers. Let them know that we're going to be doing this every Tuesday night, 9 p.m., although it is Wednesday because of the new year. I want to move on to this. Cam Newton's shoulder and a sense of urgency at this point. There's been this is a quote from, and I wish I could have the audio for this, as I've only seen it in written form. Norv Turner talking about Cam Newton in his shoulder. There's a sense of urgency right now of having an exact plan for Cam and diagnosis of where he's at. We certainly wouldn't want to get caught in this situation again. So that will create a sense of urgency about how we evaluate quarterbacks. Now, Norv Turner's talking about, obviously, Allen, Gilbert, and help me out, Heineke. And I think that pretty much says this, is that those guys, as of now, aren't good enough. That's how I interpret this.
I don't know about not good enough. Well, I mean, I like I said after the Saints game, and it was a vanilla defense that Allen was going up against. But I think Allen's young enough and talented enough that he can be a good backup quarterback behind Cam Newton. And if we do end up, re-signing Cam in a few years, maybe he's like a Jimmy Garoppolo for us, and that he can be a player that if we're able to continue to develop him, maybe he's trade fodder at some point in a few years. I think that's a likely scenario. I think he's talented, but I don't know. I really don't know what to think about that.
Carl, I'm going to ask you this. To me, that statement, what it indicates is that if Cam Newton suffers a prolonged injury, if he has to miss time in 2019, we really can't go to the damn drawing board with these guys.
It sounds like that. I mean, I like Allen because he's cocky. He's one of them cocky kids that he ain't afraid to throw that deep ball. That's what I like about him. But in the same sense, with little experience,
you can't go 8 games with those dudes.
Exactly.
You can't go 4 games with that. That's not gonna work. You got to go get like Teddy Bridgewater or Joe Flacco.
I don't know. Maybe Allen can win us 2 games.
Man,
2 games.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know if that's a feasible plan. Joey, I'm gonna go to that freaking Puerto Rican. Joey, the sense of urgency at this point, what we're interested in at this is that to me this sounds like, hey, we better have a plan in case Cam isn't ready to go. Joey, how do you feel about that plan at this moment?
I feel I think they need to find out, like, this week if you're going to need surgery or not. And if he's going to, then let's do it, like, this week. Or at the beginning of next week so we can get this rehab rolling. Because I don't like who we have. We really... Oh, man. We really...
He's watching TV and talking on this podcast.
Oh, I thought you were talking about him.
But I didn't. We don't really have a plan. I mean, Allen, he looked good. Don't get me wrong. He looked good against the Saints, but, the Saints had no motivation. They really had nothing to play for. I'm sure they were playing pretty vanilla. So it's one thing when, it's week 17 and you're playing against guys that are going through the motions. And another thing when, you're fighting for your playoff lives against the team. So, yeah. We definitely don't have a plan right now.
If you go into the season thinking that any one of those guys, I think that Heineke, the reason that we had Heineke and any of these guys, the whole point is that it's Cam or bust.
Right.
That's fine. That's a fine plan. Is that we think Cam's going to play all year, and if he doesn't, then it sucks. But you can't go into the year and say Cam Newton, arguably, there's a good chance he won't play, and then not do anything. And for me, I know that everybody has been praising this Jordan Rodriguez article about Cam Newton in comparison to how they've handled Andrew Luck. But I don't think it's all that. And the reason I don't think it's all that is because it don't say shit. Nobody knows if Cam's Newton's shoulder, it seems like the medical people don't know what to do at this point. And I don't know if that's the case, but I can tell you this: if your shoulder hurts, don't use it.
Okay,
so that's not a good article.
Right. I will jump in. I hear you. I will jump in and say this. Ian Rappaport reported that there's no structural damage to his shoulder. So that tells me that it's probably not going to need surgery. But that also tells me that they don't know what the hell is wrong with Cam Newton's shoulder. Like, I mean, just brass tacks. They really don't. And you got to say, if it's one of those things that he's just going to require rest, I don't know, man. It smells fishy to me. It don't sound right. It don't feel right. Either Cam Newton needs surgery or something. He's going to need something. Go ahead, Carl.
You know what that just reminds me of? What was it last year with Ryan Khalil with the neck injury, where he just woke up all of a sudden and said his neck hurt, but he missed all them games.
This is what this pillow, Carl.
This what this reminds me of.
Here's why I don't like comparison when it comes to Andrew Luck and Cam Newton, and how this article tried to expose how, like, well, there was only one thing that you could do, and that is wait. Well, the problem is Cam Newton has thrown the ball for a season and a half, 2 seasons. Andrew Luck, he couldn't throw a tennis ball. That's what they were doing. Do you remember when they were starting his rehab and they were like, we threw a tennis ball today? Cam Newton's been throwing a football for 2 years. Like, what the hell? Like, y'all just realized? I mean, to me, I don't get it. I don't get it. No, I don't get it. That's why it's fear. There's a lot of fear there. If Cam Newton's shoulder is broken, man, I'm going to cry.
If his shoulder's broken, do we have to draft a quarterback?
But they're saying it's not broken, though. So I don't know. Man. That's what I'm saying. Like they're saying, that there's no structural damage to his shoulder, and that's what scares me. Because if that's the case, and he's not going to need surgery, then it's just what I said. They have no idea what in the hell is wrong with Cam Newton's shoulder, and that's a problem going forward, man. This is the last thing I'll say about the backup quarterback position. I would much rather us, cultivate a talent like a Josh Allen, even if it's not him, whatever. Cultivate a talent and rear a young quarterback behind Cam Newton instead of having to go to free agency and spend on Bridgewater or whatever the hell else Joe Schmo is out there at the time. Let's have a guy that we have in-house that doesn't cost a ton of money, that'll be able to back up Cam. I did want to ask Carl.
You don't want to spend $14 million on Sam Bradford?
Hey, man, I don't know. I mean, when you put it that way, it's kind of enticing. Hell no.
Now it's like this. Draft him in round 1. Shit. Just get out of here.
Yeah, man. But, all right, so listen, man. My man Carl D, you're in our cat calls tonight, but you are also blessing us with your presence. So is there anything that you wanted to ask us or mention to us or throw out there, man? We're kind of we'll turn it over to you for you to say whatever it is you want, man, before we let you go for the night.
Let me see. Yeah, it's strange about that Cam thing. I do have a suggestion. If we are going to draft a quarterback, to be like Cam's understudy, I would try to do what's his name, Finley from North Carolina State. Ryan Finley.
Oh yeah, Ryan Finley. Okay.
He would be a good. He'll be a good understudy for Cam.
Yeah.
Yeah, that dude is awesome. If you're gonna draft any of these quarterbacks coming out, he'll be the one that I would take. Maybe later rounds. I ain't gonna say take him in the first round or second round, but maybe a 4th round pick.
Yeah, maybe even like a Trace McSorley out of Penn State. I don't know if you've seen a whole lot about him. There's Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just saying that in the later rounds of the draft, there are going to be some lesser name quarterbacks that are going to be available. And yeah, Ryan Finley is one of them. He's been good for NC State for a while.
Yeah. I would say that quarterback at Duke, that a lot of people was high on, but the way they talking, he first round for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, which is insane to me. That's absolutely insane to me. That's not a first round quarterback, in my humble opinion. But okay.
Yeah, just like I thought Trubisky wasn't a first round quarterback to me because he sucked at Carolina, but
he only played 13 games.
Exactly, but they had him. But all these scouts had him as the better than your boy Cody Deshaun Watson. I was like, please.
Which was a travesty, man.
It was a travesty.
An absolute travesty.
Yeah.
Deshaun was the best player in football that year.
Yes, he was. But the Cam situation, I don't understand how. You mean tell me nobody knows anything about that man's shoulder? Nobody.
It's insane, man. It's
It's
insane, man.
crazy. So they knew his shoulder was hurt, but they still kept him out there.
Look at this. Air Raid 73 coming in the chat room says this. In 4 more years, Holton Ahlers will succeed Cam Newton, the ECU Pirate, baby.
Yeah, man, y'all tripping.
That's a long.
He went to high school 2 blocks from here. 2 blocks. I can see that. I can hear the high school when they play football games. And he's big. He's a big boy. He looks more, because he's white, he looks more like Tim Tebow. But he's lefty too. So, but he's pretty good. He's pretty good. All right, Carl D. We're gonna get you in the cat calls too, because you got a lot of suggestions here. We'll see you in the chat room, I hope.
All righty. Thank you guys for having me, and I will be back as soon as I can another time.
All right, excellent.
Anytime. Bring the heat whenever you want, man. All I gotta do is jump in.
All right.
All right.
That's Carl D. I'm gonna play the cat calls right now. Well, first I should say this. You're listening to C3 Panthers podcast. There's 42 people watching right now. There's 21 thumbs up. Double down, folks. Double down and smash the thumbs up button. If you're listening on Facebook, we appreciate it. Sean Gilly, Franklin Klemick, thank you for tuning in to the C3 Panthers podcast. We're here on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. generally. The last 2 weeks, because of the holidays, we've moved the show to Wednesdays, but it's Tuesday night, 9 p.m. You can find us on all your major podcast outlets: Stitcher, Google Play, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify. Go ahead and be a part of the C3 Panthers podcast by calling into the Cat Calls line. The number is 252-228-5098. And let's jump in to Carl D's Time to Shine moment.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in the snow? Who's that kid that can use one?
What's up, C3 podcast? This is Carl D. What's going on, C3 fam? The Professor T, Mr. Cody, and the mean one, Joyce. Okay, guys, it's that time. It's that time of the calling with Cody's draft board. Today is the defensive ends. I'm going to exclude Nick Bosa and Rashawn Gary because they probably going to be gone by the time we get a chance to select. So today, let's see, we're going to start with Cody, your guy, Cleveland Farrell from Clemson, 6'5", 265. Which, Cody, I don't have to tell you too much about Mr. Cleveland or Colin, however you pronounce his first name. This have good speed, very athletic, and very quick off the snap. If he was to fall for us, man, that would be a great pick for us. You know it and I know it.
Yes, it would.
Let's see. Another on my list is a Florida product. Jaliha, man, I'm butchering his first name. Polite from Florida, 6'2", 260.
Ja'Kai Polite, yeah.
What I would consider a hybrid hybrid defensive end, outside linebacker slash. He's pretty much athletic, but me personally, I wouldn't draft him. He doesn't fit the Panthers defense. But here's my sleeper pick, guys. I'm going to go with Zach Allen from Boston College, 6'4", 284.
Yeah, I like Zach.
Seen on the film, this guy has great instincts. He's a good run defender, and he has a high motor as well. So, yeah. That's good. And then my two other picks. My other sleeper. Hi, this is Cardi.
He got caught off. Excuse
my voice. It's a little funny. Sound like I got trying to get a little hoarse there. Anyway, back to my sleeper picks. My favorite player on this list is another one of your guys, Cody, Austin Bryant. For some reason, I love this dude. He does not get the recognition that the other three linemen on Clemson get, but to me, this dude is good. I mean, 6'4", 260 pounds. This dude, one of the most impressive parts is when I'm watching, this dude has a very outstanding quick off the snap. That means as soon as the ball is snapped, he's on his way in the backfield. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And Cody, his hip move, his dude has some good moves when he has some good moves coming off the edge, especially with his hip movement when he go into that one move that it's almost similar to like a stiff arm, but he takes it and goes up under the offensive lineman to get by him, almost like I don't know, some kind of alternate version of a bull rush, but not quite a bull rush. Anyway, this dude, man. Austin Bryant. If we get this dude, I would definitely be one of the happiest people. Now, I see some experts say
Austin more than Cleveland.
I know. He's like his number one fan.
I really didn't see it. I think it was more of the situation which made it look like Bryant took plays off, but not really. I don't agree with that. And my last two are Anthony Nelson, 6'7", 260 pounds from Iowa, defensive end. Hey,
I lost sound. You there?
Hi guys, this is Cardi again. Yeah, I was that.
Did you lose me entirely?
For a minute, yeah.
I changed it trying to fix it. Right now, as I've got you and the cat calls on the same channel, sadly, and I don't know what to do to fix it. So just as I play the next call, if you are talking and it's playing at the same time, it will have some echo. So we'll just try to have to wait till afterwards. All right, just go overall. Let's respond to that, a couple of those. Go ahead and tell us where you found on that.
Okay. I'm still hearing the echo though.
All right. You're still hearing the echo. Try it now.
Yo. All right, much better. So no, listen, I love that Carl is really looking at these players, man, because a lot of these are players I'm looking at. And Joey's not in here right now. He had to step away from the computer. But yeah, as a Clemson fan, I mean, I know this guy's inside and out. When it comes to Farrell, the first guy he mentioned, he's being talked about from a lot of people as being a top 10 prospect. Then there are other people that they don't like him, some even in the first round, which I'm kind of in between on Farrell when it comes to that. I do think that the guy that Carl loves, Austin Bryant, is number 7. He's the weak side defensive end for Clemson. He is the type of player that, you know, he benefits from having 3 other monsters that he's playing next to, but he does do everything well, man. His bend is high end. He has great hands. All of the guys on the Clemson defense, and I'm not saying this because I'm a fan, they really are incredible pass rushers. They live in the backfield. They're great football players. And I think Bryant isn't necessarily as consistent as Cleveland Farrell is. Farrell is a more consistent pass rusher, and I think that he's a little bit better with his hands. Like I said, more consistently than Austin is. He named a few people, but the last thing I'll say is, stay tuned to the show throughout the offseason, because Tony and I were talking. We have some stuff coming down the pipe. We're going to be really delving into a lot of these different players that are going to fit what we do and what we do well. And one of the things that we'll be talking about is, does a defensive end fit what we do? So Josh Allen is a player from Kentucky he's a monster. He's a man amongst boys, and a lot of mock drafts are drafting him to the Panthers. But the problem is he's more of an outside linebacker, that Von Miller type. And that's not what we're going to do here in Carolina. So you have to make sure that they fit the right personnel that we have here in Carolina. But shout out to Carl, man, for the picks. I love them. Keep it coming, man. Go Tigers.
All right, let's see if let me see here if I can get these calls going on. If you can, I might have even fixed things. People making fun of me in the chat room talking about how I got to get traded Buffalo. I don't know if this is. Let me see if this is Carl D again.
Yo, it's Pigskin Pete. Just calling to show my support for the
man.
Panthers and your show.
Well, look at that. My man, just calling in to show his support. Pigskin Pete, way to go, dude.
Yeah, he is a Clemson YouTuber. I'm a big fan of his. Again, I'm a Clemson fan. And he always shows love to the Cat Chronicles podcast. So, hey, man, thank you for the shout-out, man. I love what you do. And maybe we can work together in the future in some way, shape, or form, brother. But thanks for the love, man.
I think he's coming back here. Let's see if there's anything else.
Well, so this Pigskin Pete again. I'm just giving it a second chance here to get on the air, for Christ's sake.
All right.
Well, that's it. He has 2 minutes. He never hangs up. They're 2 minutes and 30 seconds. All right. That's the cat calls, folks. And look, is Tyler, if you want to join the show, you can do it using Shindig. The link is, you use your Chrome browser. The link is in the YouTube notes, as well as you can use the app. It's a easy way to jump in. We can bring up to like 1,000 people if we truly wanted to. And much like you're saying, if you want to do that, that is more than available. What we want you guys to do is continue to support the show. The number is 252-228-5098. You can deal with the echoes. You can deal with us crying about Cam Newton's shoulder, and you can be a part of that and help prop us up. I think I've got the audio worked out. Too late now. We've only got one really last thing to talk about in this show, I believe. We've talked at this point. We've had a pretty full show if you think about talking about coaches to free agency and Eric Reed to this sense of urgency with Cam Newton. I think now, though, it's time to talk about the rest of the league, guys. The Carolina Panthers may be out of it, but the NFL playoffs and the NFL is continuing to fight and to play. Can you cue up the matchups for us, Cody? The playoff matchups is wild card weekend coming up. The Carolina Panthers, you know, the happiest thing I got about this is we finally don't have to hear this stupid crap about the Carolina Panthers potentially at one point having a chance to be a wild card team. Right now, the wild card teams are set up. To me, this is actually a very surprising list of some of the teams that are going to be playing this week. Right now, it looks like, what do we got? The Chargers versus Colts, Texans, Chargers, Ravens, Seahawks, Cowboys, and Eagles, Bears. Who are the wild card teams out of that? Would it be the Seahawks and the Eagles, and then the Chargers and the Colts?
Yeah. So you got it. The Seahawks and the Eagles and the Chargers and the Colts. I kind of feel bad for the Chargers because at 12-4. Dude, in any other year, that's a number 1 seed, man. I mean, they kicked ass this year. And they're a good football team. They just had the unlucky circumstances of being in the same division as the Kansas City Chiefs when Pat Mahomes decided to absolutely go nuts, and probably he'll end up being the MVP. Yeah, man. Which one do you want to talk about first, man? These are some good matchups, man. I'm actually excited. Even though my Carolina Panthers are not in the playoffs, it's almost a weight off my shoulders because I don't know about you, but I'm feeling like I just get to watch a bunch of good football games, and not have to be too heavily invested in one team or another. So, yeah, man, which one do you want to rap about first?
Well, let's start. Let's just go left to right. We'll start in the AFC. Colts, Texans. For me, this is easy. I think the Texans have been at 11-5. They've got to be the quietest 11-5 team in the whole league. I do think that they went on the road and struggled somewhere recently. Where was it where Deshaun Watson put up all those points in the very last week of fantasy football? He put up like 40 fantasy football points, and they still lost. Was that in Baltimore? Or was it Philly? Was it Philly or something like that?
Yeah, that was in Philadelphia, man. And Deshaun Watson just played out of his mind, man. One of the most lethal connections in the NFL is Deshaun Watson to DeAndre Hopkins, man. I mean, those guys are insane together. It's hard for me to remember a time when the entirety of the offense was based upon one quarterback throwing the ball to one really good wide receiver. And that's pretty much it. They don't have a good offensive line. They don't really have a standout running back like other teams
but
do.
They do have a good complimentary receiver in the dude that came from Denver. What was his name?
Demaryius Thomas.
Yeah, like what's been his story?
Yeah, that was a good trade for them.
I'm looking up his stats right now.
Yeah, there was and I'm blanking on his name. The Texans have another wide receiver. He's a slot receiver, and he's been real good.
Nah, he's hurt.
Him? No, but I know, but that's what I'm saying. That's what prompted them to bring Demaryius Thomas in and trade for him, so that way it wasn't just DeAndre Hopkins all on his own. And Will Fuller. I think that's his name.
Yeah, that's right. It's right. If it was the guy that got hurt.
Yeah, that was him. That was him. And he was a good player, but after they lost him, they wanted another option for Deshaun Watson to be able to throw to. And so that was a good move. Yeah, man, I'm also a fan of the Texans. Listen, man, I try not to gush too hard about my Tigers on this show, but Deshaun Watson has a place in my heart. I love Deshaun Watson. I think that he has an incredible career ahead of him. And the man makes magic. I mean, if you look at what he did against Alabama 2 years in a row, I mean, there is no situation where the moment is too big for him. So even over Andrew Luck, who I know Brandon thinks I hate Andrew Luck, but I really don't. But yeah, I do like Houston in that matchup.
I tell you one thing is that Demaryius Thomas has been a straight buster over there since he's gotten there, and I thought that he was just in a bad place, but look, he's The most he's had is 61 yards in his first game there. He's had 2 touchdowns in about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks right there. I thought that was all of a sudden be a duo that would be unstoppable. It has not panned out as well as they wanted, but necessary. DeAndre Hopkins is unstoppable. And I'm going to tell you this, is that I believe in the Texans, man. I think they're a better team than anybody gives them credit for, and we just don't even pay attention to them. And the Colts, though, here, Cody, we'll end on this at this point, is the Colts. I don't know what I'm going to get from week to week. I think there's some good pieces there. I think that Andrew Luck is up and down as usual. He has some great moments. He has some okay moments and some things. But like one week, they look like they could all of a sudden be the toast of the town. And then the next week, they look like they only put up 6 points, or they only put up 6 points.
Listen, man, the Colts started 1-5, and they're in the playoffs now. I mean, that's insane, man. And listen, I know you talked about that Jordan Rodriguez article earlier, but I mean, but you even mentioned it when you look at how they were talking about Andrew Luck and not even being able to throw a tennis ball effectively to 30-something odd touchdowns, and it's like I said, they've invested in that offensive line. And it's paid off dividends, man. Brandon Smith out of Auburn as the right tackle, and Quentin Nelson. And, man, that was an injection of life into that football team. So the matchup is definitely going to be J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney and Whitney Merciless against that Colts offensive line. And, if they're going to be able to give Andrew enough time in the pocket, because T.Y. Hilton has been the kryptonite for the Texans. T.Y. Hilton he burns them. That's a good matchup, but it's in Houston. I'm still gonna lean Texas, and I do agree with you, man. I like this Texan. They're my dark horse Super Bowl representative. I don't know if I'm ready to pick them yet, but they are a very, very good football team, and I'm not surprised if they end up playing in Atlanta. I'm really not.
Everybody's telling me that Demaryius Thomas has torn his ACL like 3 weeks ago. He had 5 targets and 3 receptions on December 23rd, right before Christmas. So it must have been in that game that has happened. I don't see and I'm just looking at one place.
Yeah, right he did. No, Brandon is right. I do remember that. That is.
But 3 weeks ago.
That is right. Yeah,
I've been off from work forever then, obviously. I got to go back to work tomorrow. And it has not been 3 weeks, sadly. It's only been 2, but I've had a good – all right, so going on next. You know what? Is that – who knows? It turns out we just don't even know enough about the Texans except for that DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson know what's up. I'd be interested to see what Jadeveon Clowney's got to do. He's got to come out. He's getting free agency this year. And I'm a little worried is that it's a name I want to say that the Panthers should pursue, right? But at the same time, he's had some injury problems himself. Now, going to Chargers and Ravens, this is a game that is perplexing to me. It's going to be – this means it's at Baltimore, right? 5th seed versus 4th seed. I don't know how to gauge the Baltimore Ravens. Their defense – was toast of the town to begin the season. When we played them, we diced them up. They've had a resurgence in the past weeks, it seems like, as their defenses come back. I've seen Brandon Carr making plays, and I thought he was going to be done. And then the Chargers again, coin flip. It seems like they're 2 weeks good, 1 week bad. 2 weeks good, 1 week bad. And then how do you figure this out with Lamar Jackson there? I said it right. I always forget, right? Is it Lamar Jackson, right?
Yeah, Lamar Jackson.
Okay. Is that, and then they run the ball like 97% of the time. How do you gauge this game at all, Cody?
So, listen, I want to start by saying that I really am happy for Lamar Jackson. Out of all of the rookie quarterbacks that were drafted ahead of him, from Darnold to Allen to Rosen and Baker Mayfield, he's the only rookie quarterback that's in the playoffs right now. and he's 6-1 with the team, man. So kudos to Lamar. If you look at what the Baltimore Ravens are doing, it looks almost identical to the 2012 Redskins with Robert Griffin III. They run that read option with the quickness, man. And honestly, there isn't a better quarterback to do it than Lamar Jackson. I mean, he really is our generation's Michael Vick. I mean, that's how fast he is.
Wow.
He needs to be better. Yeah, he needs to be better throwing the football, without a doubt. But I do think that over time he will get better as they mold the offense around him. Yeah, man. I honestly though, as much as I'm happy for Lamar, I don't trust the Ravens against the Chargers, even at home. I just don't. I feel
Didn't
as though
they play each other recently though?
they may have. I don't know. I don't have their schedule up in front of me. Yeah,
I'm gonna look it up.
You know, I just feel Bosa and Melvin Ingram. Those are two defensive ends that they're not going to fall for the read option. I think the Chargers have had enough time to look at what they do. And listen, when I say read option, I mean that's what they're doing, man. There's no other bells and whistles. It's a read option offense.
Yeah, the Ravens went to San Diego and beat them 22-10.
Los Angeles.
Thank you. In fact, I wish they were in San Diego still because I hear San Diego is the best place on earth. But that was just 2 weeks ago. December 22nd. They go west. They go east to west, which is better than west to east. But on the road, taking down the Chargers in the high school football stadium.
Well, and see that's also, but that's also a point to be made though, is that now the Chargers, they know what the Ravens do because they've seen it before. Now they have revenge on the mind. I don't know how much of a home field advantage. I think M&T Bank is what it's called where the Ravens play. I mean, I don't know what their home field crowd. How much of a boost that is. But I don't know, man. I know what the Panthers did earlier this year. And while the Ravens may not have as many weapons on offense as a DJ Moore or a Curtis Samuel, I don't know, man. Something in my gut just says that I can't trust the Ravens. I'm picking Los Angeles in that matchup, man.
You know, the scary part for me is I kind of want to pick the Ravens here, but are they so one-dimensional? Are they so one-dimensional that you can figure it out? I'm going to play it safe. I'm going with the Chargers here. Sneaky good game there, though. Sneaky good game.
Yeah. And your boy, your favorite quarterback other than Cam Newton, Phillip Rivers.
Oh, yeah. Phillip Rivers is going to go in there. He could throw like 12 interceptions or 12 touchdowns or both. All right. Seahawks at Cowboys. Really, in my mind, this is the best game of the whole wild card matchup in many ways.
Yeah.
The Cowboys are surging at the right time. Both of these teams are surging. I would say that I think that it's pretty clear. I think that the Cowboys on paper are a better team. But the Seahawks have the ability to win games no matter what at times. And for me, the Cowboys have the defense that's better than the Seahawks. I would say this: Cowboys defense better than Seahawks defense. Cowboys talent on offense better than that of the Seahawks, except for the fact that Russell Wilson is head and shoulders better than Dak Prescott. But I mean, if you look at the running back position, Zeke just kills it.
He does, man. And, I honestly think that these two, I do agree with you. This is the best matchup. I feel these teams are easily the most evenly matched of all the games coming up. Listen, I like, in my opinion, this game is the Seahawks trying to run the football against the Cowboys. And I think that they're going to need to establish the run in order to be able to do that. The problem is, and listen, I have to be fair because I'm not just going to blow smoke and just, be a super fan. Leighton Vander Esch, that linebacker that they drafted this year, man, he honestly reminds me of Luke in his rookie season of the NFL, man. And he's a little bit bigger and longer. I mean, that guy's a monster. This is a tough one for me, man.
I'm picking Dallas.
All right, you know what? I'm gonna pick Seattle only because I think it's gonna come down to the quarterbacks, and I trust Russell Wilson more than I do Dak Prescott, man. And Russell Wilson at the end of a football game, man. Dude, it's hard to say that there's a better quarterback.
Jesus smiles on him, dude. Jesus.
Yeah, man.
Look, he even dates this hot chick, and he doesn't even have sex before he gets married. Like, how you even do that? She's like this, like pop star. What is her name? Sierra or something?
Yeah, Sierra. He turned the hoe into a housewife, man.
Yeah, I mean, like this dude does whatever he wants. You're right.
Dude.
Jesus smiles. He throws prayers up too. He'll just chunk it up, and then all of a sudden it's like right in the breadbasket. Jesus smiles on Russell Wilson. I almost called him Russell Westbrook for a second, but I think this is. I'm just going to say that I believe that Cowboys defense at home and Zeke. That's where. This is all I'm just saying is yes. Nod to Russell Wilson over Dak Prescott, head and shoulders, right? But Zeke versus whoever they got back there in Seattle, nod to that. And then at the same time, nod to the Dallas defense. That's my opinion. But Tyler Lockett, baby Lockett, man, he's pretty awesome. And Baldwin came on in the last game of the year. If there's going to be a time for him to get healthy. Did you see that one catch he made was outstanding, dude? Good God.
Baldwin's a monster, and it doesn't surprise you when you hear that his number is 89 because he looked up to Steve Smith, man. I mean, that's who he modeled his game around. And, yeah, he's done and proud, man. Baldwin's a beast. He's absolutely a beast, man. But you're right. That's the best. That's out of all the games.
That's the one I'm most excited about.
Yeah, and now that the Panthers are out of it, if I had to pick any football team that I wanted to win the whole thing, it's the Houston Texans. Like that's the team that's the team I'm pulling for. But out of all these matchups, it's a close one between the Texans and the Colts. But yeah, the Seahawks and the Cowboys, that's fun, man.
Anyway, the Eagles 9-7, bruised rib Nick Foles goes into Chicago. Third seed, 12-4. Another 12-4 team having to play on Wild Card Weekend. Kind of stinks for them. But the Bears, to me, I think the Bears are really the best team in the NFC altogether. Well, I guess because the Rams are AFC, right? Or no, they're in. The NFC. Yeah, so there's three. Sorry, I'm like all crazy here. But you got the Saints, you got the Rams, and you got the Bears. I think the Saints obviously are the most experienced team when it comes to Drew Brees leading them. I think the Rams have a ton of talent all over the place. But for me right now, the Bears are a really well-rounded team. I think it's a giant upset if the Eagles beat the Bears at home.
Yeah, and they have the Philadelphia has like 1 million different players on IR. They've turned it on late though, and
they have.
And if you're a Philadelphia fan, I wonder what it feels like that your backup quarterback is the one that you want in the playoffs. Saying that he's a freaking Super Bowl MVP, man. That's crazy to me. I think they're going to have problems with Carson Wentz moving forward with injuries. But, Tony, you and we're kind of in lockstep tonight, brother, because I think the Bears have the best defense in the NFL, and I don't even think it's close. And, the old saying, man, defense wins championships. And they
have weapons on offense too. They are not. Their weakness is Trubisky. That is their weakness.
Well,
Really, in theory, is they got Cohen, they got Howard, they got Allen Robinson, they got Kevin White, who is still out there playing. Dang, I mean, like these guys, they got a bunch of receivers too that are slot guys that put up a bazillion. I think Benjamin or whatever. So I feel like they are a team that's got It's just all about Trubisky. Can he handle it?
John Gruden might have gifted them a Super Bowl by trading them Khalil Mack. Like that was like the final gem in the infinity gauntlet of the Bears, dude. I'm telling you, man, that's a nasty defense. And I'm higher on Mitch than you and Carl are. I think that they give him too much slack. I've seen him make some good throws, and they've done in Chicago a good job at putting an offense around him that he's able to thrive in. And he's mobile. I think this year he almost had as many or if not more rushing yards as Cam Newton, or somewhere around there. I'm messing up the stat, I'm positive. But he's a mobile threat. And, he's done a good job in that offense. And that offensive line is also underrated. So, yeah, I'm with you, man, 100%. I think Chicago. My dark horse Super Bowl pick, and I'm not confident enough to say that this is my Super Bowl pick yet, but I'm flirting with the idea of Houston Texans and Chicago Bears in Atlanta, man. I think that's a very possible matchup. But the one that my brain tells me is that it's going to be the Patriots and the Saints and the Super Bowl. But
I hope it's the Patriots and the Saints, because that would be like the most epic Super Bowl for football, for NFL. That's going to just make NFL like the biggest thing ever.
Imagine what it would do to Atlanta Falcons fans. The team that came all the way back from a 25-point deficit to drive the stake in their heart, and their hated division rival, the New Orleans Saints, and they're playing in Atlanta.
And they beat them too, probably.
Man.
I don't know. I think that the Saints could get bounced, man, before you know it.
I do too.
I don't right now. I'm not feeling the Chiefs or the Saints as much as I was 6 weeks ago.
I think the Chiefs are one and done. To be real with you, to be very real with you,
the defense just can't do enough. The defense is just not working. But then they got some players there. I don't know. I think the Bears, man. The Bears are the team that I would be worried about playing. That's what I would say. I hope you ain't playing them in Chicago.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. This will be the first playoff game that Chicago has had in forever. They sold out in a few minutes. Soldier Field is going to be booming, baby. That's going to be a loud place to play in. I agree with you, man. I think the Bears, I think if they want to go all the way, they have all the potential in the world to do that. And Kansas City, they haven't won a home playoff game since 1993 or something insane like that. Yeah, I don't trust them, man. I do not trust Kansas City. I just don't.
All right, we got to get out of here. I got the shindig set to close in 2 minutes. I said it was going to be a 2-hour limit. I thought the show was going to be an hour. It's 2 hours on the dot. My name's Tony Dunn. This is C3 Panthers Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. We're live on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. I know it's Wednesday here tonight, but we'll be back Tuesday night, 9 p.m. We got a lot in store, Cody. Free agency, the draft. We're going to make this offseason great again.
Yeah, we are, man. Listen, stick with us throughout the offseason. We're not going to take a Tuesday off unless we have to move it to a Wednesday like tonight. But yeah, man. Listen, we have content coming for you guys. It's going to be exciting. This is our first offseason with David Tepper. It's going to be fun, man. Keep it right here with the C3 Podcast, and we will not fail to deliver.
Don't forget to subscribe, share, and call into the Cat Calls line. The number's 252-228-5098. We want to hear your perspective on the Panthers going forward. What are we doing now that Ron Rivera and Marty Herney are here to stay? How will free agency pan out for the Carolina Panthers? Who is a must keep? Who is somebody that we need to target And then we got to get into the draft. There's going to be tons to do, tons to talk about. And we're always going to do it and keep cheering for our Panthers. We'll see you on Tuesday, 9 p.m. Everyone, have a good night. Keep pounding.
And drafttech.com every Tuesday.
Subscribe to the C3 Carolina Panthers podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, or anywhere you can catch an RSS feed. Check out CarolinaCatChronicles.com for the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective.
Great cash, homie.
Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. You could turn $10 into $250. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/fan and use code FAN. That's code FAN at prizepicks.com/fan.
Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.